everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are really excited to be talking about the latest two episodes of The Way Home, episodes 6 and 7. So it's going to be super fun. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle's here.
Hey everyone.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I just had like a little rant to Rachel already to talk about the show.
That's what we're here for. It's what we're
Yeah.
here for. And at least we have this show to escape into because,
Yeah,
things have
exactly.
been kind of stressful for me as well. So I'm getting ready to go on a trip next week. I'm recovering from having been on a trip. And I know people are like, wow, you went on these trips, but they actually are pretty stressful.
Yeah, I imagine. So I'm not a
Yeah.
good traveler, so I definitely look at your Instagram and think, oh, like I couldn't do that. All of the different things that you have to do,
Well, and there's
travel
some
wise.
trips that just seem cursed,
Hmm.
like just everything goes wrong and you can't save it. And you just have to make the best of a kind of a lousy trip. But hopefully that won't be the case for South by Southwest. Fingers crossed. But anyway, we're talking about these last two episodes of The Way Home, but we did have exciting news to come out that it has officially been renewed for season 2. And I'm very curious. I really want to get Heather on. We need to have her on because I just am so curious how much they have this planned out because it is just going at this insane pace. I just can't believe how much we have learned already in just 7 episodes.
Yeah, it's funny though. You say that we've learned things, but it's also still question marks. So
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely a lot that's still unexplained.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot more questions. I just
Yeah.
wonder, like you said, we need Heather on to find out if
I want to know how
she
much they
has
have
all of this
planned.
planned out, if
Yeah.
she has all of these answers and it's just sort of biding her time. Because I had people online sort of questioning when the show was being renewed and all of that stuff, and I just went with the previous Hallmark shows.
Uh-huh.
And I just assumed it would be after, even though the show has been really well received and it does really well in the ratings and it's kind of
Uh-huh.
become a little bit of a phenomenon, especially on social media. But I
Yeah.
just assumed that they would wait until the season was over before they officially announced it. So yeah, it was definitely a surprise that they did it
Yeah.
so early.
And if people don't know, Heather Conkey is the showrunner of the show, and we had her on before talking about Heartland, like in 2019. It
Mm-hmm.
was a while ago,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a while
so
ago.
it was
And I think
before
her
our
daughter is the sort of co-showrunner as well.
yeah,
So
they
it's
did together.
interesting that they have the two generations sort of
Mm-hmm.
like behind the scenes sort of like spinning all the wheels as well.
Yeah. And then we also had that other article about the show that
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to mention.
Yeah, it was just interesting. It was from one of the Hallmark sort of one of the people at the top that sort of said that she brought the show to Hallmark with her when she came to Hallmark, and she was actually developing the show for Netflix. So I just
Yeah.
thought that was really interesting, and it makes a lot of sense. Because there is a lot of this show that you think, I never would have thought that this show would have ended up on
Yeah.
Hallmark or came out of Hallmark. There was a lot of question marks on that, and I think that explains a lot.
Yeah, I'm
Not
really
like the
glad though,
Hallmark
because
shows.
I'm really glad though, because I feel like it would have gotten lost in Netflix,
Mm,
you know?
yeah,
They have so many
and it makes
shows
sense
and
as well because Netflix has been trying to sort of have these sort of Hallmark type
mm-hmm.
shows with Virgin River and Steel
Right.
Magnolias, and so yeah, it sort of fits in. So yeah, it was the Hallmark EVP Lisa Hamilton Daily.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah,
We should have her on too. I'll
yeah.
email them. But let's dive in. Let's talk about episode 6, Building a Mystery. And it's Kat and Alice try to stop Jacob's disappearance. Dell realizes the tragedy of Jacob was not hers alone, but the whole town's, and moves toward healing. So overall, what do you think of this episode?
Yeah, such an interesting, like, edge of my seat. These episodes just go by so quickly,
Yeah,
like so quickly. And I think it's really interesting that when they use the pond, they sort of get put into different it's not sort of linear. Like, they sort of jump around in time, so they don't know when they go into the pond if they're going to come out at the exact same time, the exact time that they need to or they want to. So it makes it go a lot quicker. In the next episode we're skipping 2 months, and yeah, so in a way it makes sense that they've got to this point already, of Jacob's disappearance, but it also felt like this is something that they were sort of leading up to in terms of like the finale of stopping
Yeah.
Jacob's disappearance. The fact that it has happened so early, um, is
This was
surprising, but it was
like,
such a good episode.
it was a shocking episode. And I mean, I'm so confused because I mean, as all the characters are, if she got Jacob safely home in the
Mm-hmm.
end of the episode, is this like a multiverse situation? Is the pond the entrance to a different reality of the family than the
Or
current
is it
state?
yeah, because they can't affect anything, even
Yeah.
though they're there and they exist in the memories of the people in present day, but they can't change anything.
Yeah. So that's what I mean.
It's
Just
so,
makes me
yeah.
think
So what
it's,
is the purpose of the pond? If it's not
yeah,
to
is
change
it some kind
anything,
of,
what is it?
is it some kind of like a black hole that leads to a multiverse situation?
Yeah, some sort of Bermuda Triangle situation. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I have no idea, and I really wonder if I imagine the creators do and the writers do have an idea of the overall meaning of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really curious that she got him safely in that house and nothing happened.
I feel like it's the only explanation that makes sense,
Hmm?
is that it's a multiverse. Why wouldn't it make any difference? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Especially when other things have made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
nothing I don't think there's been anything big thus far that has sort of had ripple effects other than these characters existing
I mean, I guess they do remember Alice. So
for
in
Alice,
that
yeah.
sense, that it wouldn't be a multiverse that they wouldn't remember. So I guess maybe that's not right. I don't know. How could it not make a difference? It doesn't make any sense.
Unless we go back to that time and find out why.
I mean, I guess we will, but
Oh yeah,
I mean,
but
the only
yeah.
part of it that it would make sense is if Jacob, as if Jacob's his own autonomy decided to leave. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't taken or was an accident, because that would be stopped by him going home. But if he decided for some reason to leave,
Yeah,
then
when Cat went back
that would make
into
sense.
yeah, when Cat went back that he left the house.
Yeah. Because if it was just an accident on the cliff,
Hmm.
then that would be stopped. And if it was somebody taking him, like that creepy guy at the Ferris wheel, uh, then then that would be stopped. And so,
Or maybe it's sort of yeah, we're getting really deep into it now, but it's like, what if it's like no matter what they do, something time sort of course corrects to sort of have it end. Like, the ending is always the same. Jacob always disappears. Like
uh-huh.
no matter what they do, no matter how they try to stop it, the ending is always the same. Like Jacob always disappears.
Yeah, that would be wild. That would be wild. I mean, that everything in our lives is like predestined
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have any kind of say in it, is what it would be. Or just this one thing is predestined and
Like
everything
time
else.
sort of corrects it.
Yeah,
Sort of corrects itself.
yeah, like why would, I don't know, God or nature or whatever is controlling all of this, why would this have to happen?
It's so yeah, I have no idea. I, and it sort of throws all of my theories out of the window.
Uh-huh.
The sort of theories that I was really holding on to was that Cat causes his disappearance by trying to save him.
Mm-hmm.
Like she doesn't realize that she's the one that caused the disappearance, and that could still be true. I just
Well,
don't
we
see
know
how.
from like the murder board that like she sees that there's lots of things there that are considered clues that were actually her, not
Mm-hmm.
like the bike.
You bike, yeah.
And so yeah, I was thinking that too, but I don't know, maybe
I
that's what
think
made me think,
something.
is this like another dimension
Mm-hmm. I think
in the
something
pond?
happens to make him leave the house again.
Yeah,
I think
must
that's
be.
the. Yeah.
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Probably not an accident, because why would he? I mean, I guess if he goes out to find the dog,
Mm-hmm.
maybe he
Yeah.
goes
And we know that the
out.
dog is time traveling as well. So yeah.
Well, let's so then we have Nick inviting Alice to a party. Nick's like, I'm into you big time. And she's like, well, you don't really show up anyway. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Poor guy.
And because she's mad that he didn't show up for the movie premiere, I mean the movie closing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
She's
he
mad at
gives
something
her,
that happens
yeah, and he
like
gives her
20
this
years in the future.
Yeah, he gives her this necklace, so you know that's gonna come up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's gonna see her later, which I think we're finally gonna meet him next episode.
Yeah, I hope so.
Episode 8. You say, well, Carrie was in the episode at least.
Mm-hmm.
In the preview. And so he's gonna see that necklace.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's gonna be fun. And yeah, she's mad. This is an unusual, I think, plot line, especially because they have Spencer in the current timeline. So what are they gonna do with this? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a weird one, I feel like.
Yeah. It's definitely the strangest. You'd think the time travel would be the strangest, but it's this sort of like, ugh. Yeah. Like Carrie's going to be in the next episode, and I'm on the edge of my seat and also going to be covering my eyes because I'm like, how do you respond?
Yeah, what are they gonna do?
A friend from when you're a teenager is still a teenager.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So I did have to laugh when they made this show a Hallmark show because you have to have a fall carnival.
I feel like this show is so good with the events though.
Yeah.
There's so many events.
Well, it just made me laugh that I think it was Monica, I think is her name. Anyway, the lady, and she's like, the fall carnival is crucial for our touristing and for the success of the town, and it's economic necessity and all this stuff. That it was great for the town's economy, and I was just like, right. There's all these tourists that are like, I gotta go to, I forget the town's name, just for this like dinky fall carnival.
And I felt so bad for Dell of getting the blame for the reason that the town has, lost so much money because of the reputation of having a missing child. Like, that's so bad. That is so awful.
yeah, like she couldn't have stopped them from having the fall carnival all these years. And they could just go ahead and she just not attend. I mean, it's really, I don't think that would be a problem. But you have people ripping down the carnival posters. People think she's doing it. And but yeah, only on a Hallmark show would like a carnival be a necessity. Like it's absolutely essential for a town. You're not seeing that on Netflix, I'll tell you that. So this is when we meet Danny. He's a kind of construction worker, I think, right?
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
And he was with Jacob, and they had like a fight over this dog, stuffed dog toy, and we find out later that he threw the stuffed dog into the ocean. And so he feels like, oh, Jacob fell into the ocean to get the dog, and he feels like he's responsible.
Mm.
And he says, I can't get rid of it.
I just thought the acting was so good in this scene, like
Uh-huh.
from an actor that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
We've sort of seen him in the background and sort of having these sort of awkward interactions, but
Mhm.
never any dialogue. And for this to be his first like scene, for it to be this massive scene, and I just thought, yeah, it was really blew me away.
Yeah, he was good. It's true. And we know that it wasn't an accident. There's no way that the end of all of this is like, oh, he fell into the ocean. But,
Mm-hmm.
because it involves Colton somehow. We know
Yeah.
that. And so far, I mean, all that we know is that he went out searching on the boat and they couldn't find him. Colton, that's in the next episode, but yeah, there's no way it's just an accident. So this is kind of a red herring, but it's also like interesting and well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially, that the time travel is a thing. The idea that the pond isn't something to do with it.
Yeah.
Does it really make sense?
What if he dives into the ocean and the ocean is also like a port key?
I can't handle that. We've got the entire
It would make
ocean.
sense though. No, just like the one part or something. I don't know. It would make sense why he's
Handle
gone.
the pond.
Let's
figure out
all
the pond
water is
first.
suspect here.
I'm diving into the bath next.
Yeah, right. So Kat, she has the job at with Byron, and she uses it to get all these articles and all this thing. She makes a murder board thing. In
Gotta
the
have a
basement.
murder board.
Yeah, you can have a murder board. And of course, she has Danny on the murder board and all this stuff. And then she says at one point, "What about the White Witch theory?" What was that? Have we heard about that before?
I think that was just Jacob saying that he could see the White Witch, which I think was Alice. I think that's the theory, that the White Witch that he's seen in the woods is someone that's traveling.
Oh, I don't even remember him saying that. I guess I forgot.
Yeah, I think that was in the first or second episode. I'm talking about the White Witch in the woods.
So I was like, I wonder what that's all about. Because we still got this 1814 thing hanging out there. That was the very first shot of the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
And you got
so very well could tie into that.
You got the 1814 almanac.
Mm-hmm. Imagine if he's in 1814.
I would die. It would be so interesting. I mean, I feel like he has to be somewhere in time. The only thing that makes sense. And so I was thinking, like, if they're, because 1814, that was like, it wasn't like Puritan times. That would have been like 1600s, but like, there could have still been witches and things. I don't know. Something it caught my thing. I was like, what is that? The White Witch theory. And then she says that she's going to go back and she's going to save Jacob. And she
Mhm.
tells Elliot that, and he's like, the pond has a mind of its own. You can't just pick a particular time.
Mhm.
And and then Alice finds this out because she goes and it's been a month.
Mhm.
And the carnival was the weekend before, or is coming up. The carnival's coming up that weekend. And so, they're like, what, where were you? Why were you missing for a whole month? And then Alice tells Elliot, don't let Jacob out of your sight. And they're all kind of keeping track of him. And then that's when you get the scene with Del and Kat talking to Danny.
Mhm.
And then you have, let's see here, place. Okay, so then Del says you can't let guilt dictate your life. It was, and then we find out it was Danny who took down the posters. He's got them in his fireplace,
Mhm.
and so then we have Alice with Jacob, and then Kat's there as well, and Kat realizes that she was the bike in the murder
Yeah.
board,
Mhm. Yeah.
and
So she is having an effect.
yeah, so I guess then it wouldn't be a multiverse because things are in this timeline. They remember things.
Yeah.
Maybe my great idea is wrong. Darn it. So then we have Teen Elliot and Alice go to the carnival. Everyone is there. Jacob is there. The dad is in the dunk tank. Colton in the dunk tank. And then Teen Kat puts Jacob on the Ferris wheel. He did seem pretty small to be on that Ferris wheel.
Yeah, by himself. Yeah.
Yeah. This doesn't seem like a great idea. And didn't you think that Ferris wheel guy was creepy?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like he was definitely a red herring.
Yeah. And then Kat and Brady go on the Ferris wheel. So they're all chummy. And that's when you see Jacob dropping the stuffed dog. And so, that's a clue. And then he goes to get it. And then after that is when he's gone. And so they're all looking frantically for him. And then Kat finds Jacob and Danny in the funhouse.
Mhm.
And this is when Alice sees her mom, adult Kat, in the funhouse. She was there. And yeah, what do you think of that?
Again, just surprised that they found this out so quickly, because after that wasn't revealed early on, I really thought they were gonna hang on to that till the end of the season.
Yeah, I did
But
too.
yeah, I do think it's interesting that now they have to talk about time travel. Like,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to have a conversation and try and figure it out. It's such a weird thing to just not talk about. Like, they're gonna have to create a murder board of the time travel in the pond and try and figure it out. Does the
Yeah.
pond just want them to experience events?
Because you enjoy escaping into Hallmark movies, we're pretty sure you're going to enjoy another podcast called Criminality about celebrities.
Specifically, reality personalities behaving badly in business, crime, and just generally.
Criminality is a show about the intersection of true crime and reality TV, hosted by good friends and lovers of bad TV, Melissa and Rebecca.
Every other Friday, they bring a new story about a reality TV star and their brush with crime, legal troubles, and trashy scandals.
On Criminality, you'll go way beyond the headlines with episodes about some of the OG reality stars like Anna Nicole Smith, Kim Kardashian, and Tarek Al Moussa.
And if Bravo is your reality TV flavor, you're in luck, because they keep up with the endless tea pouring out from nearly all the Housewives franchises.
The fun never stops as Melissa and Rebecca remind us all that loving reality TV is not a crime.
Catch new episodes of Criminality every other Friday wherever you listen to podcasts, and visit criminalityshow.com for more information.
That's criminalityshow.com.
They've already happened, that they
Well,
can't change.
I wonder if she's gonna find out about Nick. I mean, what is adult Cat gonna think of her daughter?
Well, she already knows, like her and
Oh, the
her and
double
Elliot
date.
yeah, they were talking about it, the double date, so she
Oh, I
knows.
forgot about
Um,
that.
Yeah, but she's
Oh
gonna
my
have to sit down,
gosh.
Alice, and have a talk with her about
Yeah.
the fact that Nick's a 40-year-old man now.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, they would never do this on Hallmark, but
Mm.
let's just say that the relationship between teen Nick and Alice was to go, like, technically, could she get pregnant with somebody in the past?
Stop, Rachel.
They would
Don't
never
go
do
there.
that, obviously, in Hallmark, but it just makes you think, like, this could get really messy. I mean, it's like Outlander times 2.
Don't stop. Don't give them ideas. Oh, I would die if that happened.
It would never happen.
No, never.
But so adult Cat ends up walking Jacob home and says that, I bet you're Cat's best buddy, Jacob. And it's so sweet. Oh. And then she sees him go into the house and he's like, what's wrong with you, lady? Like, he thinks she's kind of weird. And then she comes back and everything is exactly the same,
Mm-hmm.
which is just
Doesn't
wild.
make sense.
What?
It doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense is that we will go back to this night
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
we'll
find out
have
what
to.
happened.
And he says, I'm so sorry I couldn't save him. I really tried.
Oh my God, that was such a good scene.
Yeah. And Colton says he's gone. This is when, so I guess that was this episode, but Colton has been searching on the boat, can't find him. I mean, do you think that is there gonna be a darker turn for Colton? Do you think he could be more of a villain than we realize?
I think we're definitely going to see another side of him, because what we've seen so far is this sort of fairy tale romance, sort of envious, relationship, or sort of, and again, it's this also thing of you when you realize that your parents are human and
Mhm.
flawed.
Yeah, but
And
that's one
yeah,
thing.
we're
And
going to
like,
see the effect of losing a child
Mhm.
as well.
well, it's like, but what would be his motivation to hurt Colton? I mean, hurt Jacob in any way?
I don't think he did. Yeah, I don't think he did, but I do think we're going to see another side of him post
Yeah.
Jacob missing.
Right. Well, we already do in this next episode. We learn a lot about their relationship and yeah, some unsavory things. But I don't know. It kind of made me think, like, the way he was given up on and just saying like he's gone. It's like, I feel like most parents would wait longer before, like, would keep up the
Yeah.
search longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe this
So-
show's just purposefully doing things to keep us guessing and keep us questioning everybody's motives.
Maybe it
and
was
all their
also
behavior.
I have to admit, before I watched this, I watched Dateline on the Murdaugh. I don't know if you followed that,
yeah, I
Alec
watched
Murdaugh.
that, yeah.
So maybe that's my like bad fathers was on the mind. I don't know. And then Alice and Kat, we lost him. I saw you in the mirror, and then Alice runs off. So so much in one episode. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like these episodes just go by in like 20 minutes.
I know.
It's so fast paced.
Yeah, I really do. And you can watch. I didn't realize, but you can watch the whole season on Peacock. I realized that today, that it's not like with the movies where they're only for 72 hours. You can watch the whole season. of this show on Peacock. So if people miss an episode, there's that option.
You cannot miss an episode of this show.
No, you can't. But I mean, what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
8.5.
Yeah, it was a
It's
good
such
one.
a good one.
Yeah, it was a really, really, really good one.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Then we have episode 7. It's the end of the world as we know it. And this is Alice goes to a New Year's Eve Y2K party to support her friend. Kat finds a new mystery about her father, while Dell reveals an old secret about him that's troubled her. So, well, overall, what do you think of this episode?
I mean, yeah, the Colton stuff really shocked me.
Yeah, it was very,
Yeah,
very
really took me
surprising.
aback. Again, not something you would typically see on a Hallmark show,
Mhm.
or even a Hallmark movie. It's just, even though they tend to have cheating sort of storylines and cheating things, that they sort of sugarcoat it a lot in the Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
It's like you're emotionally treating all the way through this movie, and then break up with your yeah.
Well, that's what kind of made me think, is he going to be the surprise villain of the series? Like,
I
don't
don't know if I
know.
would like that.
What's that?
I really don't think I would like that.
Well, I mean, it just sort of made me think with all of these layers. It's probably just a red herring, but with
Yeah, I
him
think
cheating, with him like going to like a brothel, I guess, right?
see, because all we have is the note and him spending lots of money. I think that he's maybe hired someone, now that they've stopped the search, that he's pouring all of his savings and everything into like a private investigator and keeping it all from Dell. And the more he's getting no information, the more he's sort of spiraling.
But why would he have that location of this? It was like a brothel, wasn't it?
It was like a seedy motel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe it's just like a really weird spot to meet someone. But yeah, I think it is a red herring.
Yeah. I mean, because it's such a likable actor, and I mean, it would be shocking to see like a father, especially a little boy. It seems unlikely that would be the case, but I did kind of start to wonder of like, is the big reveal going to be like, oh, whoa, he's the villain and we didn't know, or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I really hope not. Yeah, I really hope not. I really just think he's can't let go of the guilt he feels of Jacob going missing, and he's trying to do something to rectify it or find him or find out information.
Yeah.
I think that will be the red herring part of it. Where Dale thinks it's an affair, but yeah, I really hope it's not.
I hope
he's
so
not
too.
the villain.
Well, they did a very good job. This is probably the best made episode of the season so far. The way that this cinematographer captured the searching, I thought was really next level. And it just, everything I think about this episode was very well made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so she gets there. Alice goes through the pond, and they say for her to leave because it's just family time. And he says, I thought I would have so many more conversations with him. And then we also get back to this time, and Byron fires Kat because she's
I don't blame
basically
him.
yeah, she's basically like using the job to
Mm-hmm.
research for her for Jacob, and not like doing the work that he asked her to do.
Yeah. And
So
the things that he's asking her to do, she's sort of not done a great job.
yeah.
Normally when you watch shows and people are like constantly not at their job and doing different things, and you think, why are they still employed? This show,
Right.
people can't get away with it in this show. You get fired.
It's true. Yeah, they end up spending all the time at the festival or planning the company party. I'm like, would you really be spending this much time? Like, what?
Ends when they're just constantly sitting around the cafe.
Yeah. So then we have this note, as you said, with this address and phone number and her dad's old shirt.
Mm.
And Dell doesn't even look at it. And he said, the past is never dead. It's not even the past. So yeah, it's interesting that he would have that note, and it would be for this seedy motel. And then she gets Elliot to come, and she's like, you can always call in a sub. And I'm sure all the teachers in the watching were like, right, you can just it's not that simple.
Click your fingers and get us off.
Yeah, you have to prepare lesson plans and things like that. And they had the 1999 Elliot mix CD, which I thought was fun, and because I remember having just a blast making mixed CDs and tapes, and now you have playlists, but it's just not quite the same as like having the CD, I don't know, that I made, and you give it to your friends and share, and that was always a fun thing. And of course they have All For You, Sister Hazel. This is a throwback.
I mean, I remember like I was such a big fan of all different styles of music, but when I was in sort of my mid-teens, I really, really got into country music, and it's so hard to get country music here because it's just not stocked in stores, and so it was so hard to get CDs, luckily, and also they were always imported, so it meant they were more expensive. And so I would rely on our long sort of country shows at random times sort of throughout the night on different sort of weekdays to get all of my music, and it was so stressful, like recording songs, when to start, when to stop. And
yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I used to call in the radio and request
I used to do
songs
that,
so
yeah.
that
I
I
used to
could
do
then
that.
record it.
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah,
sitting
I did
there with
that.
like click. This is the
Kids
best.
today, they have no idea
Yes.
how stressful it was and how difficult it was to get music.
Well, I mean, that's interesting you say that because that must have made a kind of Wild Rose extra special, because it's about a country singer from Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
if
yeah. That's
if
such a
that's- oh,
yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
movie so much.
Yeah, if you want to see a good performance, BAFTAs, Jessie Buckley
Oh,
performing that song is so good.
I still can't believe it didn't get nominated for the Oscar. What a joke. But in the was that the year that was Sing Street. The year Sing Street, they nominated the song about the chair. It was all about a chair. I'm like, this over Sing Street songs? Great. Ridiculous. Anyway, so Y2K, do you remember, did you do anything special for Y2K? You remember?
Yeah, I remember the mania around it.
Mhm.
But I didn't. I don't think anyone around me or myself was like freaking out about it. I think I just was like, yeah, nothing's gonna happen. But I do remember like the insanity of just like people freaking out and it just being on the news constantly, and all of these sort of, plans as to what to do if everything stopped working. And yeah, so if I was going to place a bet on that board, I would put nothing happens.
Yeah.
The board that they had at the party.
Well, for me, I don't remember that much because my mom had my youngest sister in August of 99, and then my sister and I went away to school and we came back for Christmas and everything was a total mess. My dad, he every year for years he would always get this respiratory infection every Christmas, and we're always like, okay, it's Dad's Yuletide. Yuletide respiratory infection. And he had a terrible one that year, and they had this, pretty small baby, and my mom wasn't feeling, well, still recovering because she had to have full bed rest from for pregnancies, and so she was still in recovery in December, and they had two other little kids, and it was intense. And I remember getting home and my dad saying, "Welcome to hell." And so we ended up just working that whole break, the whole
Mhm.
Christmas break. We were helping with the baby. So
Mhm.
that's all I really remember about that Christmas was working and helping with the baby. But yeah, I mean, I was always pretty skeptical that anything about the Y2K would like materialize
Yeah.
anything too
Mhm.
terrible. I was pretty skeptical of that.
Yeah,
So,
same.
well, so Teen Cat decides to go to the New Year's Eve party, and Alice tells adult Cat, says, "We were friends and you needed your friends there." And so she knows she has to be there
Mhm.
for her mom.
Yeah, I thought that was such a good scene and a good reason. The whole point of them going back was Jacob. And so how do they find more reasons to keep going back?
Mm-hmm.
And I think showing sort of the effects that this had on Kat, this being the thing that kicks off her panic attacks, this being the thing that sort of creates the divide between her and her mum and their
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just thought that was such an interesting way of, you know, it's one thing sort of grown up Cat saying to Dell, things change, but to actually see it, I think that's one of the strengths of this show of going back and forth of we actually get to see it play out. And I thought it was all, done and acted really well.
Yeah. And it's just when someone's going through a hard time, their friends are there for them. We were best friends.
Yeah.
And it made me think, like, if teen me were to meet teen my mom, like, would we be best friends? I don't think so, because my mom was really shy. She's not that shy now, but at least the stories that she tells.
Mhm.
She tells a story about one time, I guess she was sitting weird, and her fell asleep, and she went to walk, and she just like collapsed because of her, and I guess she just was too shy to like scream or yell out or whatever. So she just like laid there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, poor thing. So I was very extroverted, shocker. I know y'all are shocked to hear that, but I was definitely very extroverted as a teen. So I don't know if we would have really gotten along that well. My mom. I don't know. What about you? Do you think you would have gotten along with teen your mom?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like it would be the opposite. I was very introverted and shy and kept to myself of, the friends that I had then are still the friends that I have now.
Uh-huh.
And I have never really been into parties or clubs or drinking or anything of that nature. And I know that my mum liked clubs and
Uh-huh.
liked going to parties and had like a big circle of friends. And yeah, we were just complete opposites. So
Yeah. So it was kind of surprising that she would go to this party, and that other people wouldn't be also surprised that she was at the party.
yeah, and that people were kind of being mean to her as well, of
Mhm.
like she's just doing it for attention. I mean, that's
Mhm.
so mean.
Yeah, so mean. And they find out the cops called off the search the day
Hmm.
before the party, and Nick is at the party. Um, and then this is when young Cat and young Elliot dance to All For You. And so that was fun. And Nick asks Alice to be his girlfriend. and the fishhook necklace. And then he turns out the power, and this is
I
what
thought that was pretty funny. Yeah.
yeah, but this is what triggers
It
Cat
triggers yeah.
the
I
panic
think it was
attack.
already sort of happening. But yeah, this definitely escalated it.
Mm-hmm. And this was kind of rang true because in my recent trip to LA, it was kind of a mess of a trip, and it rained the entire trip, like torrential downpours, flash flood warnings, bent down power lines. It was crazy, and that just doesn't hardly ever happen in LA. They even had snow in Disneyland. Can you believe that? First time ever in the history of the resort. They've
That's
never had
crazy.
snow. So it was just a wild, and we lost power for a whole day. And so then we ended up leaving our Airbnb and going to luckily our host was nice enough to give us a day refund. And then it was we went into a hotel, but anyway, it was just a lot of power outages. Luckily it wasn't triggering for me, but it was for Kat, and I thought she did a pretty good job, that actress, of portraying the panic attack.
Hmm. Yeah, especially when we've already seen it from Kyler's perspective as well. We've seen her go through the panic attack thing. So
Yeah, we've seen her have
yeah,
a adult panic attack. And she says, I was supposed to be watching him. He was my responsibility.
yeah,
It's tough.
yeah,
Tough.
yeah. It's tough, and especially the fact that it seems like she's not really communicating with her parents, or they're
Mhm.
not capable of communicating with her. So yeah, she's just having a really rough time.
Yeah. And she says, I wish the world was ending tonight.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Yeah, I don't think anybody thought the world was ending, but I thought that people thought that, like,
All technology
computers,
would, yeah.
technology would, like, malfunction, and obviously that would be catastrophic. But nothing ended up happening. Just all went on. So that's good. Kat says to Elliot, adult Kat to adult Elliot, says, there's something here, isn't there? And Elliot says, I've been waiting a long time to kiss you, Kat Landry. And when I do, it's going to be perfect. And then he leaves.
Such a good scene, such a good line.
Very Hallmark.
Yeah,
Make us wait
yeah.
forever.
They're gonna make us wait, and I feel like they're doing such a good job of building this relationship. And I also feel like he, for the first time, has sort of been a little bit of had a little bit of an advantage. That he's had. So the fact that
It's
he
true.
wasn't
He
like,
knows.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I thought he handled that really well.
You would think, being kind of a scientist, he would want to try out the pond eventually, just to see.
Yeah, and yeah, we have to
But
figure out if it's just the Landry woman,
or if Jacob also,
Landry
if it's
women, and
just a Landry thing.
yeah, and a dog thing as well, Landry
Mhm.
dog.
Yeah, and we still don't know what actually happened to the dad, to
Mhm.
Colton.
Yeah, we just know
So
that he disappeared. It was on his
disappeared.
boat, wasn't it? Like a boat accident, something like that.
I can't remember. I
Oh,
can't
we need
remember.
to.
That
We
sounds
need our
right.
own. We need
We
our
need
own
our own
motherboard.
we do for the show. We need our own. So Colton questions Alice and says, are you still playing guitar? And then he says, thank you for being there for a girl.
Mhm.
So
Shows that
and
he's
then
not completely checked out.
no. And yeah, there's definitely more to his story. We're definitely
Yeah,
going to be finding out for sure.
be a big week, I
Um,
think.
And then so Dell knew that Colton spent money on things men spend money on without their wives. So
Yeah.
she knew. She knew. And then Colton says, I feel like I'm the only one who hasn't forgotten him. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that is kind of a coping strategy, is just denial. That's one of the phases.
Mhm.
of grief. But yeah, I mean, I always thought that would be like so hard to, because you hear stories about like people being found, you know, like Elizabeth Smart and stuff like that. Like, so you'd want to keep your hope up, but then how do you live that way? Like, that would be
Yeah.
really hard, I think.
Yeah. And the fact that, you know, when this show started, it was only a couple episodes in when Dell finally had the sort of memorial
Yeah.
service. So the fact that they haven't had
It's true.
any closure on two massive, like
Yeah,
two
because
of the
that's
biggest losses, you know, our son and our husband.
yeah, because it's been like 25 years
Mhm.
practically
Yeah.
since 23 years since he left. So I was surprised by that too, that she hadn't had any kind of memorial service, especially when the whole town was kind of involved.
Yeah.
Byron's writing an article on Dell. We get a little scene between the two of them. And then you see Kat going back to the pond. So where's she going? What's she gonna try to do? Adult Kat. You know, what is she?
Yeah. And when
So
is the
that was
pond going to, you know, spit her out? You know, what,
yeah.
you know, it could be
What
months later. We don't know.
we don't know. And she doesn't know. So what's
Mhm.
she trying, but what is she trying to do? That's the mystery. So what do you think 1 to 10 of this episode?
I'll give this one an 8.
Yeah, this one was good. All right, there we go. Well, we want to know your theories. We want to know your murder boards. Please let us know on Twitter.
Or make us a murder board.
Yes, or please make us a murder board. But in the comments, we want to hear all your theories, because people were giving some very interesting theories in let's see. I mean, there was one that I had never even thought of on the last episode. Just one sec. Someone said no one is mentioning the fact that Brady has now been shown twice, mentioning how rare his blood type is. I feel that it's going to come up down the road that he isn't Alice's father. So I wonder if Elliot is.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
I hadn't
think
even
so.
thought of that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't
But
think so. I don't think the end part of it, but I think it's possible I guess the rare blood type could come into play. I don't know.
Yeah, he's sort of a universal, you know, donor.
Yeah. And then another commenter says, I'm liking this. It's moving fast, but if there wasn't any certainty for the shows past season 1, it makes sense to not leave so much open-ended. They've moved past the cold pond time machine being a thing and have settled on using it as the vehicle for Alice to understand her family and for Kat to revisit the past. I also started thinking the pond has something to do with Jacob going missing, more so after seeing the episode 6 teaser inadvertently at the hand of Today Cat. Now I don't think Dell can wrap through the pond, since, as she said in episode 1, she's not a Landry by blood. I'm a bit bummed they already ran out of period song titles for episodes, since Don't Dream It's Over is either 86 or 03. So yeah, that's a good point about the song titles. But yeah, I mean, I guess that would put an end to the idea of the rare blood type have anything to do with it, if you have to be a Landry by blood to make the pond work. Anyway, tangled web.
Yeah, this pond needs to tell us what's going on.
So we love those comments. Please, more comments with your theories, with your ideas. We want to hear it. Put it in the comment section. It would make us so happy, and we'll continue to read them on the show. So anyway, this was a lot of fun. So Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. Helps people to find the podcast. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the patron group and merch store. And let us know if you would be interested in Way Home merch, inspired merch, obviously. I could commission our artists to do something if anyone would be interested. So please put that in the comments also. But our merch store is really fun. And then we also have the patron group where we're talking about all things Hallmark, all things movie. And we have our this week we have our latest watch along happening with Catherine Davis. We're going to be watching Christmas on Fifth Avenue, which is one of my favorites of recent years, with her. So you get all the behind the scenes details. It's going to be really fun and it's super cheap to become a patron, and you get lots of fun perks. So check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.